Hey everyone, welcome to day 9 of the 30-day video challenge. Thank you again to everyone who's been following along and watching these videos. Zoe says thank you too. Today I wanted to talk about there's always a positive to every situation. And recently, I'm not going to go into what's been happening with me, but I mean, I've been dealing with that head on with some negativity hitting full force. And it's been crazy, but there's been positives out of every one of those situations. But I'm not going to share that. I'm just going to use some examples, and I have a story to tell you guys. So trust me, I relate. Like, there's crappy things that happen to me all the time. Like I said recently, in the past, there's always negative things and stuff that just beats you down, and you're like, there's nothing good that comes of this at all. But there's always a positive in every single situation. As much as you may think there isn't, there's always a positive. And it takes a strong mindset and a lot of personal development and a lot of self-belief to believe that and find that positive thing. But it's totally there. So, like, I used to get really pissed off in traffic when someone cut me off. And I'd flip them off and yell at them and curse at them, honk my horn. Now, when I look at it, I go, hey, those people cut me off. Yeah, that's kind of rude, and they didn't have to do that. But you know what? If they would cut me off a little bit tighter, if I was going a little bit faster, we could have gotten a car accident. And I could have been in an accident, or I could have been killed. So the positive is, yes, I got cut off, but I'm okay. I'm still alive. So that's how you can look at like a situation like that. When people, you know, maybe break a bone or something, playing sports or playing on the playground, and it's just like a broken arm or broken leg, it could have been way worse. You have to think of the positive of that. Like, there's always, that's a good way to look at it. Like, you think there's no positive in any situation, it always could be worse. Like, look at your situation, it could always be worse. You have to look at the good things. Like, you don't make enough money at your job, well, at least you have a job. A lot of people don't have a job. You have a house to go to every night. Maybe it's not the best house in the world, but a lot of people don't have houses. There's always a positive to every situation. When you get bad news and you're sick, well, you're still alive. That's how you look at it. You get out of a relationship, yeah, that's pretty crappy, but it's for the better. Maybe you're gonna find somebody you're truly meant to be with, and that's a good thing. So it really takes a lot of effort, and is looking at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. Because every situation there is, no matter how crappy and whatnot, you always have to look at the positives. And when you focus on the positives, that negative situation, that bad situation, actually can turn out positive because you didn't dwell on the negativity. And I'm only 3 minutes into this video, but I do want to share a story with you that hits home, and I think will kind of paint a picture of how you react to somebody telling you something happened, you go, and screw that, I'm going to make it happen, I'm going to find the positive. Well, this is a story of a young boy, super active, always playing outside, always roughhousing, playing sports, going around, just super active, funny, energetic child, loving life. And at 4 years old, started getting some hip pain in one of his hips, and didn't really think anything of it. And then it started getting like really painful. The hip was really hurting, and told his parents. Parents took him to the doctor and found out that he had a disease where the hip ball in the socket actually stops growing. So it's really painful, obviously. Your hip ball is supposed to be a ball, and it was kind of getting shaved off, and it looked like a little, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it was just getting the ball, like, shaved off. So at 4 years old, they had to take that little boy and put him in surgery and break his femur, basically, to kind of restart the blood flow to that hip ball in the socket to regrow it. And at 4 years old, that active, energetic child had to be put in like a lower body cast, like basically a cast from like his belly button down to his knees. And I can't remember how long he was in this cast for, but you can imagine, boy, that age, all that energy, it was heartbreaking. And they said, like, you might not be able to walk very well, you probably won't be able to run, you probably won't be able to play sports, you're probably going to have to hip replacements later in life, like all this negative stuff. And I remember watching him crawl around on the ground, getting huge pecs and muscles because he had to drag his body weight around. But he was fighting it, and he got his cast off, and he was able to walk and run and be pretty normal and not really have a lot of lingering issues. And then 8 years rolls around, or 8 years old, so 4 years later rolls around, and he starts having pain in the opposite hip. And people thought, like, no, it can't be the same thing. That's super rare. Take him to the doctor. It was the same thing. So after he already dealt with it on his one side, he had it on the left side. So at 8 years old, he had to do it again. Break the femur, start this process all over again. And now they really said, like, both hips, like, you're really going to have lingering issues. You got to really back it down. Stuff's not going to be possible. Well, with the mindset and the attitude and the support and being so active, he fought against that and was like, screw that. And a couple years after that second hip surgery, this young man started playing ice hockey, which if anyone knows ice hockey, it's a brutal sport. The skating is the hardest part, and that's a lot of torque on the hips and the knees, and it's not easy too. And the checking and the hitting, like that, takes a pounding on your body, but he did it. He pushed through. He was running. He was jumping. He was lifting weights. Like, he didn't know there was any kinds of problems, and he lived and was playing high-level hockey for a long time. And with that, I mean, he did develop some, like, knee issues, and can't say for certain if that parlayed from his hip injuries or not. But, I mean, normal sports injuries and stuff. But the one hip thing and then another hip thing, the same thing, happening could really knock someone down. But when you look at it, they didn't say you can't walk, you're paralyzed, you're going to die. They just said you might not be able to run or play sports. So the positive when you get diagnosed with something like that is he still can walk. He still has use of his limbs. It might not be to 100% of what normal people have, but he still had use. So as crap as those situations were, he was still alive, he was still healthy minus those things, and could still do a lot of stuff. But focusing on the positive, like, hey, I can still walk, you can still do this, look all the stuff he did. He worked harder to go against what they told him he couldn't do. I'm like, well, if I can walk, I can run. If I can run, then I can play sports. And if I can play sports, I can do anything. And that's exactly how it went. We didn't focus on the negative. We focused on the positive. And guess what? That young man who had the first one hip and then the other hip had to go through all those hardships, that fought and had to get his heart broken when they told me he had the same thing in his other hip. That is my brother Kyler. And I'll tell you what, watching that, when I was like 7 or 8, when the first one got diagnosed, I didn't really know how to handle it. I was so young, and I told my mom, like, I wouldn't be able to handle what Kyler did, because I'm so active and love running and do all this stuff. I need to have use of my legs. And I saw him battle and crawl and not let it take advantage. I remember him smiling and laughing, just dragging his little body around the house, just getting jacked out of his mind with his pecs and his arms because he had to pull his body weight. And I saw the struggle he had to go through and the pain to go in the hospital and how scary that was. I mean, I was kind of there, but I was afraid of hospitals. I still am, and I think that's part of it. But he had to be there. He had to be in the operations. He had to be in the hospital, looped out on drugs and dealing with the recovery and the pain. And then to have that happen again at 8 years old, so twice he had to go through that? Like, I can't even imagine doing that. But I watched it, and I watched him battle back, and I watched him, I mean, I can't tell you, like, seeing how emotional he was and the doctors telling him and coming home that he had that hip thing again, like, it devastated us. I see my mom and dad cry, and that I saw Kyler cry, and he kind of got angry with it, and he didn't understand, like, what was happening to him because he was a kid. But he fought through, and, like, when I saw him a couple years later, like, playing ice hockey, and he was out there, and he was killing people, like, checking them in the wall and scoring goals and skating fast. From the outside world, you'd have no idea what he went through. He just looked like a normal hockey player, but I saw the struggles he went through, and that kind of motivated me to suck it up a little bit and train harder and play more, because I didn't have any of those issues, and he did. And I mean, holy crap, seeing someone like that firsthand, my own brother, having to deal with that, and then looking at me, like, how blessed I was not to deal with that. I mean, it makes me appreciate stuff a lot more, and, like, I can't say how it is to go through it. I mean, I saw it, but it wasn't me. It was him, and he dealt with it, and he lived. I mean, he's still alive, but he lived a full career of playing and doing things that doctors told him he would not be able to do. And it was because he didn't settle for what they said. he pushed through. He looked at the glass half full, and I was like, well, if I can do this, I can do more. And that's the mindset he had. He found a positive in a negative situation and didn't let go of it. So I encourage you, when something negative happens, you think life is shitty or it can't get any worse, there's always someone worse off, and there's always a positive to your situation. So thank you so much for watching this video and all the videos so far. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to share this up, and have a great night, everyone.